Hello, and welcome to I Hate Talking, a podcast about talking, including etymology, frustrating topics, current events, and other random subjects. I'm Adam.
And I'm Steph. We are married, and we invite you into these discussions with us as we talk about the good and the bad of talking.
We hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome to episode 38 of I Hate Talking.
Hi, everyone.
So this episode will mainly be the exciting conclusion of our Kitschy trip to New York City. But before we get to that, we do have a new word or phrase of the episode, as well as just a few more details, bonus details about the trip before we get back into the rest of our timeline and description of our trip.
Okay.
So today's word or phrase is the word epitome.
Okay.
So this is an interesting one because if you follow normal rules of English pronunciation, you'll probably pronounce it epitome, would sort of be probably what somebody that with no other context would perhaps attempt to pronounce this word as, because of it having a E at the end. So that therefore creating that O to be a long O, epitome. But that is in fact completely wrong because it is pronounced epitome.
I'm sure I've read it before. I can't picture it, though. I can't remember a time that I did read it. And yeah, I know the word, but I would not read that and think that's the word unless I had to go back with context and be like, oh, that must be the word epitome.
Perhaps. And I guess I missed my opportunity to see if you would have pronounced it correctly or not if you had just been reading.
Oh, yeah, you should have. Too late now.
Too late now.
I would have probably missed it so bad.
So the definition of epitome we will get to momentarily, but the reason that it has the long E sound at the end and also a offbeat syllable emphasis, because the emphasis goes on the epitome, is because it is of Greek origin, and there are a number of Greek words that, because they are from Greek, that they pronounce all the vowel sounds, and there are no silent vowels.
Okay.
And this comes from the Greek word epitome, which means to cut short. It's actually made up of two source Greek words, epa, which means in addition, and the temenine, to cut. So those two words together means to cut short, and is then therefore used in a way that epitome literally means the summary thing or a particular example of what something is in its longer form.
So, sorry, got lost. What are the two words?
So, in summary, or as an epitome description of the Greek source, there is epa, which means in addition, and the temenine, which means to cut, that then came to be used as the single Greek word, epitomenine, and then that became to be used within the Greek as just epitome, and that is now therefore what we use in the English.
Okay, epitome. Those are such hard words.
Those are hard words, and there's no guarantee that I'm pronouncing those correctly, but I do believe that I'm pronouncing epitome correctly, because that is the English word.
There you go. In full disclosure, I wanted to take Greek. My father used to teach Greek. He would not let me take his class because he knew my limitations and he knew our relationship would not benefit from it. He taught Koine Greek, so not modern day, but I'm sure he could do a way better job at this right now.
That is true. So perhaps he'll listen and give us some feedback. So the reason that we're using this word epitome as our word or phrase of this episode is because the definition in the modern day usage, again from our Oxford Language Dictionary, is a person or thing that is a perfect example of a particular quality or type, or a summary of a written work like an abstract. So you can see the source definition of the word epitome with meaning to cut into basically taking a larger work or a larger particular person or thing and then summarize it into the epitome, or that perfect example or summary of that thing.
Interesting. So I feel like when I use the word epitome or someone else, it's saying, yeah, this is the best, like this is the overarching, this is the goal. But I never feel like it's in a sincere way. I feel like people often use it in kind of more sarcasm nowadays. Would that be true? Or do you think that it's still used very sincerely?
So if you do look at some of the definitions and some of the more actual uses of this word, you do find that it does have a perhaps slight negative context to it, that is maybe used in a cutting fashion, that it is not meant as a compliment. But what we are talking about, epitome, and the epitome of traveling light, that perhaps it's either a neutral or maybe even positive use of the word.
Okay.
So, as you may have learned from our previous episode, and if you have not listened to that, definitely go back and listen to that before proceeding with this episode with the fact of traveling light, as well as the conclusion of our travels. But as you know from that previous episode, that we all had our own single backpack that we were carrying on this trip, so that we did travel light. And that was because of a number of reasons described in the previous episode, namely bag fees and bag checks with all the different stops that we had. But I believe that I probably was the epitome of traveling light, because I packed multiple articles of clothing that were on their last legs, so to speak, and I had no intention of bringing those home.
Okay, I thought that was a really great idea, but also I had such a hard time with it for me and the children, because when you're on vacation, that's when we take a lot of photos. So I wanted to look our best for the vacation, but also we had tons of layers on because it was so cold. So you didn't even see most of our outfits, and it was fine. But I did think that it was really smart that you came home with less than you started with.
Well, I don't know if that's true, because we had a lot of kitschy souvenirs, so that did allow us to have some more space.
That's true. You carried a lot of that for the kids because they were supposed to carry their own.
Correct. I did not expect that to happen in all instances, so it was nice to have some extra space because of the pants and other articles of clothing that were left in the trash of the New York hotel room.
And hopefully someone that needs them could use it.
That is true. They weren't in that terrible of a condition that perhaps somebody that was in need of those things are now using them at this very moment.
Yeah.
So speaking of moments and moments within time, we now will return to the exciting conclusion of our kitschy trip to New York.
And then the guy tells us, you better hurry. They're leaving in 4 minutes or you have to wait an hour. So then I'm like rushing us again. Like, grab your stuff. Let's run. So we start running outside to get to the boat.
Correct. And we did not make it.
No, we didn't. We ran so hard. Everyone did. I'm proud of all of us. But right before we got there, they took off.
So there was perhaps maybe 20 people in front of us that also were in the same situation. And then there was people that were queuing up behind us that, again, also were trying to hurry. So then we did make the decision to just camp out and wait in the cold, windy weather of New York City on the water for the next boat. There were some people that left and went back to their vehicles or whatever the case may be. I'm not sure if they actually ever made it on the boat, because the reason that we stayed was because if you left, you had to go through security again. And if the ticket capacity had been met, they may have not let you through.
Right. So you're taking a big chance. So we chose to stay there. And that was a rough hour. A lot of our kids were cold. Some were having a great time. But it was just so cold and exhausting. It wasn't the best hour we had.
But then the boat did arrive, and we were able to board the said boat. And that is where we purchased a number of kitschy souvenir items, including the sunglasses and Statue of Liberty figure and...
Oh, and a duck.
That and says, a duck. Statue of Liberty duck.
Yes.
There you go.
That's right. Yes. And I think some people got candy. We feel better. We're warmer in the boat. So we're not on the boat till 11 o'clock at this point. And so even that was stressful then, like, oh, we are an hour behind schedule than we thought.
Precisely. And the first stop from the New Jersey side is Ellis Island. And we opted to skip that because there wasn't necessarily any particular historical significance for our family, because our families either did not immigrate through Ellis Island or even immigrated before formalized immigration through that channel.
Or maybe they were born here.
Or maybe they were stowaways.
That's true, I guess.
So then we arrived on the Statue of Liberty Island. I guess that is known as Liberty Island. Is that correct? I don't actually know the name of the island.
I don't know it either.
We were there, though.
We were there. Yeah, so we stayed on. We enjoyed ourselves. Everyone really loved the boat ride, and it was so fun watching the kids' expressions as we got closer to the Statue of Liberty. Like, this was what they really wanted to see. Yeah, we have so many photos, and it was such a pleasant and so enjoyable. I'm so glad we did it.
Liberty Island. I was correct. I knew that I had read a sign as a good homeschooler, and that was why I remembered that.
All right. There you go. So then we got off, and everyone's super stoked that we are on Liberty Island.
And we enjoyed our time there, and then we also went into the platform. We did not get tickets. I don't even know if we were able to get tickets for the Crown. And then obviously in this day and age, they don't let any people up into the Torch. So we only were able to go to the platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Crown books months in advance. I actually looked 2 months out, and it was all sold out already. There's maybe a couple slight times that were very inconvenient. But yeah, it sells out. I think they said like 6 months or something like that in advance usually. But the platform sells out too often. But yeah, we did get to go to the platform. That was really awesome.
But to go to the platform or the Crown, you cannot take any baggage at all. So you have to buy a locker and store all your stuff there, which we did, and did the platform and had a good time and looked at all the sights that you could see from the elevated position of the platform of Statue of Liberty, and went through a number of the museums and gift shops that were located there as well. But then we left without our bag, which I guess
I knew that.
You knew that.
That was intentional
I did not know
on
that.
my part.
That would not have been intentional. I forgot about it.
No, I was like, well, this is nice. We don't have to walk around with it. Let's enjoy the rest of the island and then come back.
And if I had remembered it, I would not have left without it because I would not mind carrying it around. And I actually sprinted from the dock back to the baggage station, back to the dock, because there was a possibility that our boat was there and departing soon.
Right. You thought that our boat was leaving, and you were like, take them on the boat. And I was like, we're not getting on the boat without you. And I also didn't think that was our boat. But then I trusted you, so then I got confused, like, is this our boat? But it wasn't.
It wasn't. And this is where the 2017 information from AI got me all bent out of shape because it said that was the boat that we needed to be on, but it was not. That was the boat that was departing to the New York side.
Yes.
Whereas we needed the boat that was arriving later and going to the New Jersey side.
Right. So once again, you rushed, and then we got to our proper boat and just waited for another 20 minutes, half hour.
Yeah, we did have a nice spot outside of the wind that was protected. And then at a certain point, a number of people started queuing up. So we joined that line in the cold wind and waited there for a few minutes. And then we're able to enjoy the boat ride from Liberty Island back to our rental car.
Yep. So our next adventure was to get to New York City. And so we were going to take the rental car. It was going to be like perfect timing for how long it took to drive into the city for our hotel to be ready. So perfect. Like, finally something's good, right? So we get some lunch and you drop us off at our hotel and our room is not ready. So then the kids and
the room was not ready yet. Though it actually was. There's a story behind this. So continue.
So Yeah, so we didn't think our room was ready. You dropped us off and we're going to go return the car. And I stayed in the hotel with the kids just for less walking. We were exhausted. So we camped out in the lobby and some of them fell asleep. And we waited for about an hour and a half.
I don't think it was that long. Maybe it felt that long to you. I think it was less than that. But I did have to drive the car from the hotel where I dropped you off to the rental return, which was a different rental return, obviously not back at the Newark airport. So we did actually somehow get that transfer for free with the car rental company, which sometimes they charge a extra fee for that, but they did not in this case. So that was good. And dropped off the car, which I did have to go around the block one extra time because of the one-way street. I don't think that added a lot of extra time, but then I did have to walk from the rental car location back to the hotel. And that did take a little while. And when I arrived at the front desk to inquire why the room was not ready with our digital key, because that was our plan also to bypass the front desk, they said that the room we had selected with our digital key was not available because there was some maintenance issue. And they had to check with us to reassign us to a new room. So we actually could have checked in, perhaps. Maybe you didn't even know this until right now.
No, I'm learning this right now. I just didn't think they did it anymore or something.
Right. And perhaps it was an excuse of the front desk person. I have no idea. But we did have a room immediately available to us as soon as I inquired. So perhaps that was the true reason. I have no reason to believe otherwise. But nonetheless, we were able to then get into our second and final hotel room of the trip.
Right. And then by this point, all the kids want to do is sleep in the beds. But we only have one night in New York City. So we agreed to let them sleep for a little while or just watch TV or whatnot. And that we were going to go out for dinner and see all the Christmas lights. We only have one night here.
Precisely. And we did just that. We went and saw the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree and recreated some photos from when we were there pre-kids, and went and saw some of the downtown Times Square area with the lights and all the Christmas decorations there as well in the nightlife of New York City.
Yeah. And one of the other things they really wanted to do was see the Lego store. And they close at 8 p.m. So, again, we're looking at the clock. Like, we got to hurry if you want to go to the Lego store. So that was actually one of the motivating factors to get them out and about, was we got to go because they're closing soon. And we stayed until they closed.
We did. And when we arrived there, there was actually a line because they have to control how many people are in the building. And we saw that line and we're like, oh no. But it was actually only like 5 people deep. So that was actually not a very large delay.
Yeah. I was worried, though, that we would not get in time.
So we saw Times Square at night. We saw the Rockefeller tree and we saw the Lego. And then we also ate hundreds of hot dogs.
Well, that's an exaggeration. But yes, we had so many hot dogs from those little stands.
And then we did get back to our hotel yet again, and then promptly went to bed because we had yet another appointment in the morning for ice skating.
Yeah, 7 a.m. once again for ice skating at Bryant Park.
So we got to do that, and I think that all went relatively on schedule. I think we walked there. Maybe there's a little bit of rushing to get ready in the morning, but nothing really outside the norm.
Yeah, the rushing was to wake everyone up. No one wanted to get up. They were tired. And by this point, they're exhausted and so sleepy because we were up another late night. That most of them were like, just go without me. But I refused to go without anyone. We got up and went.
And we went and we checked in and we were like the first ones there. Maybe not the first, but like maybe there's only like 10 people in front of us. So we were some of the very first people on the ice for that particular session. So that all went, I think, relatively smoothly, except for the fact that not all the kids were all that skilled at ice skating.
It was their first time. None of them had ever skated before. And it was an experience. A lot of falls. But they were troopers, and they had those little push things they got to use. So it was an experience. It was fun.
And then from there, after the skating, we went to some more Kitschy souvenir shops and got hot chocolate. And I think that was about it. And then perhaps headed back to the hotel to rest up and get ready for our trip home. Yes.
Yeah. So that worked out so well.
But you went back to Times Square.
Yes. One of our sweet children apparently the night prior saw his souvenir he wanted. And he did mention it that night to us. And then he's like, but I'm going to wait because maybe there's something better. Well, apparently Saturday morning comes and he really still wanted it from that store. So we all first started trekking out that way and then realizing everyone's so tired, taking forever. So you took the little ones back and I took him to go back to the store. And we finally get there to find out the store doesn't open for another hour. We're like, oh no.
So that souvenir was not obtained.
Nope.
And there was actually probably a better souvenir that was found later on. So that worked out nonetheless. But that was yet another sort of rabbit trail that we took during the trip. But then we were all back together at the hotel and ready to begin our trip home.
Yep. So we loaded up and packed up and we walked down to Macy's and we got to see Macy's and the Empire State Building and all that was great. And then we were going to get on the train to go home.
And we stopped at McDonald's.
Yes. Well, so again, for rushing, we knew the times of the trains and you wanted to get there for a certain train. So then we find out that our airplane is delayed. So we're like, well, it's delayed, so we can take a little bit longer at Macy's and stuff like that. So we still had a little bit of time, so we went to McDonald's and had lunch. And do I get to hear what happened now at McDonald's? Because you haven't told me yet.
This episode is going far longer than we expected, so I'm not sure. Maybe we'll have to save that for the next episode or bonus content.
Something happened in McDonald's, and he was like, I'll tell you on the pod. And I've been waiting.
Or do we want to do it now and then break this up into a two-parter?
Whatever you want to do.
So yes, cliffhanger. I will tell the McDonald's story at the very end of this episode. But before we do, we'll talk about the train and our delays, because the plane was delayed a certain amount of time and we thought we had extra time, and then the plane was moved up. So it was still delayed, but it was actually earlier by maybe 20 minutes, I think. So then we were concerned that perhaps they were going to move it up even further or even revise it to the original scheduled time. So that was also in the back of our mind. That was a little bit of a concern. And then I think as a traveler, I have pretty good understanding of airports and ground transportation, and even in other countries can understand where to go for like terminals or, again, sort of like taxi stations or ground transportation stations or whatever the case may be. Train stations, especially maybe in the East Coast, I have no clue what I'm doing.
Yeah, it was so overwhelming. And we kept looking online and trying to read everything. And everyone's just pushing there. It was so stressful. So finally, I was like, you keep the kids here against this wall. And I was like, I'm just going to go play dumb. I knew that they have to have this kind of question all the time, right? So I went to one of the workers and just said, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to get to Newark Airport. Can you help me? And he was so helpful. I tell him how old our kids are and how many tickets we need and all that kind of stuff. He's so helpful. Tells me how much it costs and what ticket to go. And he goes, they're boarding now. I was like, oh no. And I was like, well, what's the next one? And he was really confused. Like, don't you want to go now? I was like, yeah, but I have to go get my family. Do I have time? He's like, oh, yeah. Just hurry. So I pay him, get our tickets, and I run back to you. I'm like, hurry, let's go. They're boarding now. So we all get up and run to where he told us to go. But he was so helpful, and it worked out.
It did work out. And we did get on the train that I had wanted to get to, which was like the Blue Line or something, to take the Penn Station to the Newark terminal and then transfer to the air train so that we could go from the train and ground transportation station to the terminal station. But nothing was labeled in that accord. It was not.
Nothing followed the AI answers.
No, well, we knew we needed to get on the Blue Line, but nothing corresponded to the Blue Line on any of the screens within the stations. It was all just like station numbers and station destinations, which did not make any sense to me.
Yeah. But even once we got on the train, we had several minutes. I was like, oh, we like ran. Now we're just catching our breath. But we were there.
Though we were some of the later people to board the train because
we didn't have seats.
But apparently that's not a problem. I guess they allow people to stand on the train. And we did depart. And then at the next stop or two, many people did depart from the train. And we did get some seats. And we did get to have our tickets punched. So that was a fun experience for the kids, I think.
Yeah, like that was another thing that one of our kids really wanted to do. Like the Polar Express, how they punch it and they get the ticket back.
So there was the concern that we would not get the ticket back because
she
was collecting the tickets. And there was another gentleman later at the transfer station that was collecting tickets, which makes sense because if you're a frequent commuter, you're not going to want to keep the ticket and dispose of it later. You would want just the person to take the ticket if you have no need of it. But we were able to ask the person if we could keep the ticket, and they, I think, looked at us like tourists and allowed us to keep the ticket.
Yeah, I'm sure we weren't the first to ask, but yes, that was a very touristy thing too.
And some of the kids fell asleep on the train, so that was also, I think I carried some of them from the train to the next train.
Yeah, well, you carried the bags. I carried them.
Precisely.
Right.
I was so tired I don't even remember.
Yes, but you carried our bags while I carried them, and yes, we got to the second train, got on that.
So then we got on the air train from the train and ground transportation terminal to our terminal and went through security, which I think that was relatively easy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Security went well. And then we got to our gate, which we knew was going to be delayed. So no major issues there. And knew that it was going to be a late night of arriving in our home airport and driving home. But by that point, we were already aware that that was going to be the situation and knew that I would just walk to the car to retrieve the car and pick you up at the terminal so that we did not all have to do the walk because of our parking lot issues at the start of the trip.
Right, yeah. The wait was longer than we expected still, but I think we did all the activities we wanted to do on vacation. It was like that relief of like, we did it, it was successful, and we're just going to camp out and wait.
And then we got on the delayed airplane, and again, that flight was relatively uneventful. I think there were some people that slept, some that still had the energy to stay awake during the plane ride. And then we landed, and we were like, yes, we're back, we're ready to go. And we deboarded, and then we're promptly told to get in yet another line.
And it was so disappointing because we thought we were done.
But we had to take that transfer bus
from
the satellite terminal back to the main terminal that we had forgotten about. But I think we got on the very first one, and we were on our way. So no major
once again, the lady
there.
was like, hurry! And we're like running to get on there right before it left. Yes, so we did not have to wait. Other people did. So once again, we ran and got on the bus and got to the main airport.
And then did we stop on the way home from the airport?
To get McDonald's again.
We got McDonald's again.
Course.
Okay, so people were hungry. We were all sort of out of sorts because of all the delays and time zone changes and odd sleep schedules. But we stopped at McDonald's yet again.
Yes, 2 McDonald's in one day. Sounds like a perfect vacation.
And then made it home in a total of 56 hours.
Yeah. It was so exhausting. And it was just so crazy how every time it was like a rush. Oh, wait, never mind. Now you're late. But everything worked out. We did everything we wanted to do. And I had the best time. I loved it.
Very good. So.
Wait, did you love it?
I did love it. Though I had the strangest experience in the McDonald's bathroom.
Okay. I can't wait to hear about this. You were in there for so long. We waited. So we get to our seats. And again, it's really hard to find seats, right? At a McDonald's in New York City. I was glad we had a table. I sat down to place our order. I was waiting for you because you're like, I have to go. I'll be back. So finally, after a long time, I text you or call you. And I'm like, do you want me to order food for you? We're waiting. And then you're like, order without me. It'll be a while. So I want to know. And then you wouldn't tell me what happened.
Precisely. So, as you said, it's downtown. This is right outside of Penn Station. There's a lot of people. There's difficulty even in finding seats. The bathrooms are security controlled because obviously they don't want people to go in there and whatever. They only want to give out the security code and the key code to paying customers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was another gentleman that was waiting on the restroom that knew the code. So he gave me the code because you had not ordered yet or retrieved the code. And maybe it wasn't even printed on the receipt or anything. And he didn't speak English as a primary language. So it was a little bit hard to understand him. So he was a foreigner, tourist as well, I suppose, and told me the numbers. 245, is that what it was?
No, but I don't know what the men's was. Whatever you told me the men's was, the women's was the same numbers, but a different order. Yeah, it was weird. And I heard that conversation too, because there was somebody telling them for the women's, and he said the same thing, that it's the same numbers, but a separate order. It was like 7420 or something.
Something like that, yes.
Okay.
So,
but we shouldn't be telling the McDonald's code.
Well, we don't even remember what it is. We know it was 4 digits. But anyway, so I tried that code. It doesn't work. Tried again. It doesn't work. So then the McDonald's worker is on like some sort of power trip because he has the code and he knows that I need the code. And he's like trying to tell me the code, but not really trying to tell me the code. I don't understand what the deal was.
Like a riddle or like a math problem?
I'm not sure. I think he was like maybe he was legitimately trying to know and
if you
determine if I
like
you
ordered
knew the
4
code.
Big Macs and 2 large fries, like that kind of thing.
Right. So, and I guess probably maybe within like their policy, they're not allowed to type it in for people.
Why
so
couldn't you just tell him my wife's ordering the food right now and I'm using the bathroom?
I don't know.
That's what we were doing.
That is true.
You were a paying customer. Okay, go on.
And eventually, like I had the 3 digits correct, but they were the last 3 digits of the 4-digit code. So I think he saw this and then like realized that either he could just release his power play or that I was a legitimate customer. So then he informed me by like pointing at the number pad that I was missing the first digit, which was a 0, which I will probably never forget that for the rest of my life. I don't remember the last 3 digits that I was trying to type in, but the very first digit was 0, and then entered the 3 digits that at the time I did know, and that unlocked the door.
Wait, so that 10, 15 minutes you were gone was because you couldn't open the door?
No, I was gone at least 30 minutes, and that was only probably about 5 minutes of this interchange because
it gets worse.
The foreigner was there, and he was using the restroom, and then came out and informed me of
Why didn't someone open the door for you? Just hold it open.
I don't know. I think that also may have been like the foreign thing, like it's not proper to hold doors, or like he thought, I don't know.
He can't let you in because you're not a paying customer.
I'm not a paying customer. He thought maybe he was going to be breaking American law and would get arrested in New York City and
there's a security guard standing there.
So
okay.
Then I'm in the restroom. There is 1 urinal and 1 stall. I need to use 1.
So when did I call you? What part? Have I called you yet?
I'm in. When you called me, I was inside the restroom.
Okay.
I had bypassed the security code and was waiting for my turn for the stall.
Because otherwise you could have had me just talk to the McDonald's guy. Like, I am on the app right now, sir. Okay, go on.
So then there's a gentleman inside the stall, and I don't know how long it was, but at least 10 minutes, and still waiting. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I knock on the door and said something to the effect of, "Are you soon done, buddy?" And there's no response.
Oh, no.
And nothing against this gentleman. I think perhaps was on the spectrum or something, perhaps nonverbal, but got down on his hands and knees and peered at me from underneath the door and did not make a sound.
That's so scary.
And then sort of just retreated. And I was at a loss for what I should do in that situation. So I continued to wait because this was sort of my only option, I think, at the point, because there were maybe other places of business or public areas, but was going to probably run into the same issue with it being secure and would need some sort of passcode or whatever the case may be. So I was committed to continuing to wait.
Were you really nervous? I'd be so scared at this point, like, about my safety.
I was not particularly concerned. He was very well kept. There was no particular danger that I sensed from this particular individual.
So just more childish.
Now, he was a grown adult, but yes, more childish in nature, I suppose.
Right. Okay.
So then this continues for another few minutes, I guess. And then this gentleman exits the stall, and I proceed to utilize the facility there. And during this time, I guess perhaps this gentleman's curiosity gets the best of him, and he, again, goes down on all fours and peers underneath the stall.
Oh, no. See, that's what I'm scared of.
And not really an issue. I'm taking care of what needs to be taken care of from a business perspective. So go about my business, and that is just one quick glance, and then he returns to whatever he's doing outside. And then by this time, I think there's another person that enters into the restroom, and they are also waiting on the said facility. So
wait, there's only one stall?
One stall in the men's room.
Okay.
One urinal, one stall.
Okay.
Yes.
Y'all are needing the stall.
Correct.
Okay.
So then I exit, and then the gentleman that was in there to begin with apparently wants to go back in there, but defers to the new person that is here, and they go use it. And then the gentleman goes to the sink and has like stuff laid out. So it's very strange because
like what kind of stuff?
Like a shaving kit, like a travel bag type thing.
Okay.
And he's extremely well kept, like pristine, a white sweatshirt that is not stained in any form or fashion.
Even though he's crawling on the bathroom floor.
Even though he's crawling on the bathroom floor.
Okay.
Yes. And then I ask him if he can excuse himself so I can use the sink, because it looks like he's set up again for like the long haul at the sink station here. And again, nonverbal, but sort of just motions that I can do that. And I wash up and then depart, and then wished in my mind good luck to the gentleman that was still in there with him.
Good luck. Oh my goodness. Okay, it's better. It is better than I expected, but also worse. I was really worried when I called, and I was like, are we waiting for you? Do you want me to order? And you were like, it's going to be a while. I was like, oh, what happened? I was afraid that there was like an explosion or like a leak or I don't know. But you came back clean and didn't seem distressed. Because then I also thought like maybe you're sick. Like we had a lot of street hot dogs. Maybe you got sick and shoot, this is going to be really hard to fly home ill. But you just had a really friendly neighbor.
I did. And then one of the kids had to go to the restroom, and that is precisely the reason that I said that you could take him.
Yeah, I took him. I thought maybe the bathroom was really gross or something, or the creeper guys. I guess maybe. Yeah. Interesting. Was the worker still there when you left?
The worker was not inside the restroom. He was just sort of floating out there. I think he's maybe like a person that would clean up the tables and bust the tables and monitor the restrooms. And it seemed like he maybe knew this person, and this was like not an odd occurrence. So maybe there was some sort of deal between the two.
Maybe he did know him, and he was trying to protect him. He's like, are you a creeper? Why do you want to go in where my buddy is? I got to protect him.
There you go. I'm the creeper.
Exactly.
All right. So from your friends at I Hate Talking, until next time, remember, it is only through talking that we begin the journey to understanding.